2025. Good morning and welcome to your perfect day start to the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
And it's a day, of course, that we all look forward to all through the week. So thank God it's Friday. Welcome to your perfect morning starter, that program that makes it even more delightful. I am Bukola Koka.
So it's Friday. Let's take it easy. It's been a week of plenty of political events back and forth. And let's just start with this one, and it's the statement from the Attorney General of the Federation, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Lateef Fagbemi, who says that the presidential pardon is still under review. You recall that during the whole independence celebration aftermath, the president had a meeting with the Council of State, and it was in that meeting, just days after the October 1st celebration, that there were some names recommended to the Council of State by that committee headed by the Attorney General for clemency, presidential pardon under the prerogative of mercy provisions. 174, I should say, not 175. That was in the statement by Mr. Bayo Onanuga. Anyway, there were some names that Nigerians saw that raised more than eyebrows, I must say, and they saw the spread in terms of those who were involved in crimes related to drugs, and they wondered, why do we have more drug offenders on this list? Well, there were also offenders relating to mining and all of that, but there were those who were convicted of murder. For example, Mariam Sanda. There were those who were convicted of corruption as well. There were those who were convicted of various other crimes, and people thought, does this not just make a mess of the work that law enforcement officers have done, both drug and police? Does it also not really just mess up the grave of those who were killed by the convicts? Anyway, the Attorney General has now said, wait a minute, it's not final just yet, but it's contrary to the statement which was put out by Mr. Bayo Onanuga, which said, as a matter of fact, that had gone through, that the pardon had been granted, clemency had been granted to those people. So it's either of these things or a combination of these things. Someone didn't quite get the brief from what played out at the Council of State meeting on the one hand, or they got the brief, but because of the uproar that followed, the president said, you know what, let us step back a bit so we don't incur the wrath of Nigerians. But it's one or a combination of those things, Bukola.
Indeed, and that statement also clarifies that the Attorney General of the Federation is explaining that the final stages requires a detailed review to ensure all names comply with legal and procedural standards. The Attorney General says no inmate has yet been released out of those listed on that clemency list, and indeed some are reporting this as a move that shows that the administration is probably smarting from the criticism that trailed the release of that list. Of course, Kaudi earlier mentioned Mariam Sanda. There are those who were also convicted of kidnapping. There are those who were convicted of being in possession of hard drugs like cocaine. So those names, according to reports and concerns following the release, some say it's about social justice. How do you release, such people back into the society for reintegration where there are concerns that they may not, have been reformed and they may constitute a danger to others in the society? So is this what it seems to be, taking a step back to sort of filter what, the court of public opinion is saying about the names on this list, or indeed it has to do with, procedural rules that have not been totally complied with? Perhaps the answer lies in the next couple of weeks when a decisive, action would be taken. And of course, Nigerians would see whether or not those names that form concerns will now be free men and free women in the society. But of course, clearly it's an ongoing story. Speaking of what is ongoing that will take shape in the next few days, Nigeria now has a new INEC chairman, Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, who was screened yesterday on the floor of the Senate and he answered quite a number of questions. Nigerians are now acquainted with him. Prior to this time, the story was that, he's not in the system, we do not know him, but he talked about his formative years. And one question that many Nigerians would have been surprised if it wasn't asked was, how he would ensure accountability with the deployment of technology. And he put forth an answer that many may consider satisfactory, that he would need to audit the process, that perhaps the technology deployed was not configured. So that would see a review of the electoral process under his watch, the deployment of technology under his watch. That will also, form a serious scrutiny as he begins work. And one of the first few tests for his work at the commission would be the Anambra election, and of course the subsequent off-cycle elections coming after that. Professor Amupitan also spoke about the need for an electoral offences commission during the screening, admitting, in line with the commentary that has trailed our elections, post-electoral process, that INEC does not have the capacity to prosecute electoral offenders. So some of the things that came through yesterday during the screening of the new INEC chairman, he has now been confirmed by the Senate. Kayode.
Oh, yes. And there you see the new INEC chairman, and that is the face and the name we should get familiar with for the next couple of years. That will be the name on the lips of a lot of Nigerians. I should say that the electoral amendment process is still before the National Assembly. The joint committees of the Senate and the House had a meeting earlier in the week, and they tabled some of these issues. So how soon would we get a new law? Would we be getting a new law? Would we go with the old law? But one thing I want to point our attention to was what the Senate President raised yesterday during plenary. He talked about his own election process when it was said that he was meant to be the resident electoral officer. In that sense, I should have been prosecuted. But eventually, it was someone else that was prosecuted, the professor, who the Senate President said had spent decades, and he thought that was not right, and he was sharing his personal experience. By the way, he had not really spoken about this up until yesterday. So it just sort of paints a picture of what more needs to be done, even from within the electoral body itself. A lot of people might recall that whole incident that involved the Senate President, where he was accused of sort of thwarting that election process to be in his favor. Of course, he lost, and he was wondering, why would I do that when I actually lost? But it's an episode that he hasn't forgotten clearly, and it's an episode that should set the tone for just how prosecution should take place. Who should be held liable when there is electoral malpractice, right? He was trying to say that someone else was punished for an offense which was not committed by the person. That was what he was saying in essence. But for the resident electoral commissioner, he said, well, no, we did the right thing. It was the right person that was punished. Back and forth, but the point is we need to fix electoral prosecution in Nigeria. For too many years, people have just gone under the radar, people who should have been prosecuted for election offenses. I'm not speaking to this particular case, but I'm talking about people who engage in vote buying. What do you hear about them? Nothing, really. The ones who give out the money to the agents to go to the polling units to go and share money. Where are those politicians? Nobody hears anything about them. We hear EFCC arrested them, police arrested them. But who sent them? You never get to hear that. So if Professor Josh Amupitan wants to make a real change, he must ensure that prosecution of election or electoral offenders is done and is seen to be done the right way. That's my 2 cents.
And it speaks to the hypocrisy of the system, because if indeed vote buyers, agents who are carrying cash during electioneering processes are caught they're debriefed, questions are asked, and confessions are made, statements are given. So their sponsors can indeed be traced, and if they're not traced, if the system still sticks to that rule of not naming and shaming political parties that engage in, voter inducement, then indeed the system is not ready for correction yet. So, it's a trite conversation amid the system. And as we continue to talk about electoral reform, that list on recommendations for electoral reform should be rejigged and ensure that, vote buying is one critical component that should be tackled, such that we've had conversations even on the program where civil society organizations have admitted that perhaps all political parties have engaged in vote buying, yet when arrests are made, they never really go anywhere. So we hope that under this new leadership at the umpire, at the commission, there would be a political will seen in tackling definitively vote buying during elections.
There you go. So that will form a major part of our conversation this morning. Now that INEC has a new chairman at the national level, what do you want to see in this new INEC? That is our first port of call on the program this morning, and we want to certainly hear your voice. Not to forget that I'll be taking all your responses from yesterday about the defections, whether or not you think it is healthy for Nigeria's democracy. But today we also want to hear from you. What do you want to see in this INEC under Professor Joash Amupitan? That is the first conversation we'll have on the program today. All right, so while we expect your own contributions, let's take a look at how the dailies are reacting and reporting to the top stories. We're joined by Mr. Dayo Akintobi, Public Affairs Analyst, and he's live with us here in our Lagos studio. Good morning, Mr. Akintobi.
Good morning, Kayode. Good morning, Bukola.
Good morning, Nigeria. I can see the Friday feel on you as well.
Yes,
we're taking it easy today.
We get to leave the ties at home today.
Oh dear, Mr. Akintobi, what a week it has been politically. And let's see if the front pages are also reflecting on some of the big events we saw over the week. A Leadership Friday, in the spirit of Friday, is where we're starting off with. And it speaks to new electoral chief Amupitan's credible election pledge sparks responses. Confirmed by Senate, electoral helmsman states that he will audit IREV and strengthen commission's autonomy. Yaga Africa, others say time will tell. I should just add, okay, we'll take that. It's a page 4 read, but what do you make of this statement that he will audit the IREV, the infamous IREV?
Not just IREV, but even BVAS as well. Yeah. He said he would audit both of them, and I found that interesting because that could open up a can of worms, So I'd say he's courageous and fearless if he wants to shine a light on those two technologies. But he did add a proviso that BVAS and IREV are more for checks and balances and confirmation that they're not actually the decision-making technology, that the Senate, in its wisdom, the law still talks about manual counting and collation. That is extant law as it speaks today, that technology is just as a backup, which was why, of course, during all the litigation, when there was a lot of ruckus about the fact that what was posted on IREV was different from what was counted at the polling unit, and they said IREV is just
result viewing,
a guideline. It's not the law. And they were able to use that as an out. So for him to say he wants to audit them, I don't think he's particularly looking for any exposés per se. I think he wants to see where the shortcomings were in the deployment of those technologies, because he talked about the importance of technology in terms of the electoral process. So what I think he's looking to do is, how do we now actually make these the methodology by which we vote, we count, we collate, and we announce, as opposed to them just being guidelines or just being backups or check and balance. How can we now incorporate them into the process as the main methodology? So I listened to him yesterday, and of course, a lot of Nigerians are saying, well, talk is cheap, show us. I mean, we've had a history of professors from Maurice Iwu, Jega, Mahmoud Yakubu. I don't know what the fascination is with academia in terms of the electoral process, but that seems to be the trend, is that let's pick a professor. First of all, they're supposed to be above board and have integrity. They have intellectual capabilities.
We don't have ivory tower. They're protected from all of the...
Yes, but that doesn't speak to their management capabilities.
Because ASU is on strike as we speak.
And does it also speak to their competence capabilities as far as the manipulation of technology is concerned?
Exactly. But listening to Professor Amupitan yesterday, he inspires quite a lot of confidence. I think he has an impeccable pedigree. I think he's quite intellectually capable, and I think he has some of the right ideas. I like that one about an election offenses tribunal. I like that. I also like the idea that he put forward, apart from even the technology aspect. I like the fact that he said that losers should accept loss. All this idea of litigation. And of course, you know that the National Assembly is also considering an electoral amendment to the Electoral Act.
In terms of timeline, right? Absolutely,
that will see to it that all petitions are concluded before the day of swearing in. If we can do that, that would be wonderful. So this new guy believes that if you lose, accept loss honorably and let the process move on. Let's not stop it with all of this litigation stuff. So I think he has the right idea, but talk is cheap. And he has a good test coming up. Anambra is 2-3 months away. So almost immediately, he has to get on a horse and start working from today, the very first day. He has to begin to revamp and reorganize that institution for credibility, transparency, integrity, and restoring Nigerians' trust. We've lost a lot of trust in the electoral process. There's no election out of the last several that has not left people with a bitter taste in their mouth, believing that we didn't get the results as they should have been announced. I mean, you can remember the Orubebe moment in 2015. We had a Dino Melaye moment.
In 2023, right?
So we don't want to see those kind of things. We want elections that are seamless, that are above board, that are transparent, that people have confidence in. That is one man, one vote, and it's the person who won that's been announced. I wish Professor Amupitan all the best of luck in this undertaking.
Amen.
And I don't envy him. He's got a great job of work to do upon resumption. We're not done with INEC, or the papers are not done with INEC yet. Let's head to New Telegraph. New Telegraph is also focusing on a story related to the work of the electoral umpire, FOI. INEC demands 1.5 billion naira from law firm for access to voters' register. It's a page 2, 4, and 6 read, but there's some insights there. Cites guidelines for processing, issuance of CTC of documents, Electoral Act confusion as Senate Board second reading seeks more consultations. Well, that's, you know, part of what we had reviewed earlier. But as far as this is concerned, it has to do with release of public documents. The story is not quite clear about the client on which behalf the law firm is seeking the documents, but 1.5 billion naira. And INEC is saying there are no hidden charges. They're just costs for the duplication of the documents.
It's just photocopying charge. They say it's 250 per page and there's 6-point-something million pages. So my question was, why can't you give them soft copies, digital? That doesn't cost you anything. But apparently, the requester asked for hard copies. We want paper. We want to see it in black and white, this voters register. Well, if that's the case, they have to be photocopied, and each page has to be certified. There's a cost to that, and who's supposed to underwrite it? Because you ask for it, is INEC supposed to take from his budget to begin to make photocopies? If you're making 6 million photocopies, there's a cost that even at 10 naira.
But perhaps INEC is unable, according to his rules, to release soft copies. I wonder what the FOI Act says about all of these.
I really don't know, but from what I heard that the requester asked for hard copies. It's possible they asked for any form of copies, and maybe the INEC law does not permit them to release soft copies, but for some reason, the request is being attended to with hard copies. Whatever is responsible for that, we don't know, but it's hard copies. And the issue is there's a cost to producing a photocopy. There's a cost to certifying each page, and the voters register is 6-point-something million pages long. So I don't expect INEC on its own to bear that cost. It's a request by somebody, and whatever it costs, when you go to get a CTC of even a 3-page document in a court, you pay for the production. So I don't see what all the hoopla is all about. I think there was a miscommunication to where people initially thought that INEC was demanding that money for giving the voters register. But INEC clarified yesterday and said it's for the production, it's for the photocopies, it's for the certification, it's for printing of, it's the cost of paper. I mean, we're importing paper, we don't produce paper in Nigeria. If you are bringing 6 million sheets of paper, the cost of the paper and the cost of the photocopy, it's not small. So that's what that is all about. I don't see anything untoward about INEC asking for that amount of money to produce 6 million pages.
Yeah, that's as clear as it gets, right?
Yes, so the request is for certified true copies.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that rules out soft copy, except you go through a process to certify the true copy of the soft copy. But it's a very interesting conversation, because I'm thinking about just the quantum. If you get those documents, if you're able to get 1.5 billion, get the document. I really don't envy the lawyer or the associate who would have to go through.
How do you go through 6 million pages one by one?
I do not envy that as you. I'm not sure how long it will take. But it's very interesting because the provisions say the agency or the commission may charge money for processing the request. But we'll see how that plays out. What is this case about? I know Nigerians are more curious about what this case is about than the 1.5 billion naira, because I think it would also help them to properly put this in context. So watch this space.
Yes.
We'll give you some more details, but let's move on to other front pages this morning. All of them, I must say, have the INEC chairman. So let's just take all of them in one fell swoop. Vanguard also speaks to the new INEC chairman, saying that in his time, that's on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, in my time, losers will congratulate winners. I don't know if it's a prophecy, but it really sounds like one. And I just imagine Nigerians saying amen. There are more riders, get Senate confirmation, all of that we've talked about. But, you know, I was looking at the trajectory of the background, or the trajectory of INEC chairmen and their background. So Professor Morrissey, pharmacy, we had Tahiru Jega.
Zachary, the female who acted.
She was also pharmacy. Tahiru Jega, political science. Mahmoud Yakubu, international relations. So this is, I think, the first time we're having a lawyer.
Yes.
In that sense, a senior lawyer heading INEC. So will this, because I think the litigation is also one big issue that INEC has to go through. Yes. So will his pedigree, will his qualification change anything when it comes to litigation and all of that? I imagine that this will change something. But it's very interesting that this is the first time I'm having a lawyer.
It could be a double-edged sword.
Right.
It could have the advantage that he's versed in litigation and he knows legal processes, and so he's able to marry that notion of electoral disputation and know the role INEC has to play in trying to telegraph the fact that it did its own role correctly and be able to defend INEC's role in any electoral dispute. However, the other side of the coin is that politicians and lawyers seem to have some sort of a relationship that is a bit murky.
Yeah.
And I find it a bit troubling that a lawyer would be at the head of an electoral commission, especially when the president is the one who is nominating that chairman person. I don't think anybody anywhere in Nigeria was surprised that he got confirmed, irrespective of his pedigree. I think everybody was expecting that to happen because the Senate has a reputation. So there's some concern about how independent can he truly be, being a lawyer, being an appointee of the president. He said all that the INEC does need to be independent, but what is the reality? I think that politicians and lawyers they're in bed together, because generally there's hardly any politician in Nigeria who hasn't had to defend his mandate at one point or another. So they have interlocking relationships with various lawyers. And this came up in the hearing yesterday, where he was asked pointedly, were you a member, are you partisan? Have you been a member of any party? Were you a member of the president's legal team that defended his victory? Somebody even asked if he had any relationship with Peter Obi as well, and he denied all these, which is all well and good, and we believe him. We've taken his averment at face value that he's not political, but the fact that he is a lawyer means that there is an overlap between legal practice in Nigeria and the political sector. They're not mutually exclusive whatsoever. So even if he is above board now, what happens when political pressure starts to mount? What happens when elections start to take place? What happens when the recs are recommending some of their own people for positions? What happens to appointment of vendors for election materials? It's like Kayode said, he doesn't envy this task that this person has undertaken, and we wish him all the best. Indeed, he has our best wishes. Absolutely. And Nigerians are waiting to see if indeed they can begin to trust the Electoral Commission, particularly under his watch. Yes. But let's head over to The Guardian, and The Guardian has an interesting front page this morning, Mr. Akitobi. It takes a look at our political culture and, how substance is missing. Let's look at the illustration there. But before we go to the illustration, let's look at the headline. More music, less manifesto. How praise singers override party party agenda scorecards at rallies. And you see some language that has formed part of our political parlance, on the illustration. On your mandate, we shall stand. That's as old as when the current president was governor of Lagos State, right? Yes. Weary, laughing, woe, weary. Mr. Akitobi, you're going to help Nigerians with the translation because my translation to English is not so good. Okay. You do for me, I do for you. Nyendeba, nyendeba. Of course, you know who the author of that is, as far as politicking is concerned. As they pain them, it is sweet us. So, where is the capitalist ideas, the socialist ideas? Where are the ideologies that need to be deployed as far as tackling the economic challenges that we have? Do you find them perhaps laced in this, or maybe this illustration is an extreme representation of what our political culture is? Well, we're being entertained into sedation. I'm sorry to say. Into sedation, right? Into sedation, absolutely. And, of course, if it's that way in one sector, it will, of course, seep into every other aspect of our lives. And, why should politics be any different? You look at the rallies today and you hear very little about agendas and manifestos. And first of all, there's no ideology anyway. The only ideology that is unifying people around a particular platform is simply the ability to be propelled into office. Political parties in Nigeria are just vehicles to get you into office. We are not unified around a cause that says that, okay, I'm a progressive, I'm a liberal, I'm a conservative, I'm a labor. No, it's simply, can you help me achieve my goal? And that's why it's so easy to jump to cross carpet, is because there's nothing that is holding me anywhere beyond its ability to get me elected. So you look at the political culture and you think that service to the people has been subsumed under the notion of pizzazz and showbiz. Politics has become showbiz in Nigeria, to where the more we can show our pizzazz and excitement and fervor, and the fact that we have crowds, and that overwhelms the notion of focus? What are we here for? You know, you see the performing governors, they're quiet. The performing representatives, they're quiet. They do their work. You don't see them much. You don't hear them much. Their convoys are not very long. There's no music. There's no hoopla. Take, for example, this notion of trotting out everybody in Ashwebi uniform to commission a road. And you see that playing out all over the place. Look at the idea of the president is traveling or coming back, and you see all of the commissioners, the ministers, all of them leave their jobs and come and line up to wave to a departing plane. And it just goes to show you that the notion of governance, politics, service to the people has become so diluted.
But doesn't it contrast with our intellectual capacity and disposition as a nation? Because from a distance, if you looked at Nigeria, Nigeria is not necessarily an intellectually lazy nation.
No, we're not ignorant by any stretch of the imagination. We're quite enlightened and quite educated as well. But I think this notion that politics is an avenue to riches and the lavish lifestyle of those who lead us, and the way they flaunt riches and wealth, and the way we ourselves put pressure on them. The moment somebody is in office, I've got school fees to pay, my mother's sick in the hospital, can you help me? I'm about to be evicted, I need help with my rent, I want to bury my in-law. We put pressure on them and compel them to begin to provide or sort out our needs. So everybody is feeding from the trough. And ultimately, we put aside the notion of the fact that what politics should be, not what politics is. Politics in Nigeria simply at the moment is, how do I get my own share of the pie? How is stomach infrastructure? It's about dividends of democracy. Don't pass me, oh, don't pass me, dear Lord. When you said I should translate some of the things you said earlier, you know, it is madness that we use to cure madness. You know, so don't pass by me the good things of life, and what it takes for me to get them, I will do. And so I gave an example. Somebody who works in our office came complaining the other day about the fact that I took his daughter to a general hospital, and they didn't have drip or they didn't have an injection, and he had to go out and start looking for where to buy to provide it himself. And I said, how did you vote in the last elections? Oh, I didn't vote. Oh, I will vote for, why would I waste my vote? Why would I waste my time? And I said, so you don't see a correlation between your vote and the drip in the hospital? And he didn't get the connection. And I think that's where we fall down on the job, is that we don't understand that one is related to the other, that one gives rise to the other, and that's where the system breaks down.
Political education. I know that there are courses, political science and all of that, but I think from primary school,
yes,
people should begin to understand the link.
Yes,
understand how governance works,
absolutely,
how politics influences governance. And I think we'll eventually, if we're able to get it there, we'll breed people who are more politically conscious, politically wise, and they really understand what the system is about.
When we were growing up, they were offered civics. I don't know about today.
Well, it's content creation.
The same as social studies that we also, you know, took up in primary school.
Yes.
Mr. Secretary, people are focusing on content creation. That's the drive. But
entertained into sedation.
Do you know, if you look at what we consume, you know what? Let's go over to this Nigerian newspaper. And I think it's maybe our own approach to things. We can build something around it and make it as far as it works for us. But this Nigeria, just to mention, talks about that pardon controversy. No inmate released yet, says AGF Fagbemi. Only inmates who pass ongoing legal procedural verification will be granted final clemency approval. So I thought the president already granted an approval. But because of the uproar, it looks like we're now saying there's another approval after the president.
This is an afterthought, I promise you. I guarantee it's an afterthought because of the uproar, because of the public, because there's no way you release the list. It already said the president signed off on it. if you were still going through a review and you were still crossing T's and dotting I's, the list would not have been released yet. By virtue of the fact, when that list was released, it said this is based on the president's prerogative of mercy. So it was a done deal. And I won't be surprised if any of those people who was on that initial list gets yanked because of this sudden review, doesn't go to court or protest and say, I was already pardoned. How can you now say I'm not? How can you unpardon a pardon?
And if it is yanked, would it be made public?
Well, we already have the list of those who are the 127 or however many.
I mean, if names were yanked off that list, would the administration be forthright enough to make public again the updated list?
They have to make public. We'll have to make public the updated list. And besides, even if they don't, we will hear outcry from the families of those who are initially on the list and now have been removed. So I think this was a knee-jerk reaction. I think that they put the list out assuming that they could do it and get away with it. Then they saw the public uproar, because in truth, it was quite untoward when you see people sentenced to 10 years for murder, 20 years for drug trafficking. They've done 2 or 3 years. That kind of prerogative is usually reserved for miscarriages of justice, people who are unjustly convicted, people who have mitigating circumstances. Perhaps they've spent 50, 60 odd years. They are now in their twilight years. They are ill. They are ailing. There is usually compelling reason to do it, not willy-nilly political or just simple sentiments. There's usually, and that list does not reflect that deepness of thought. However, some people have tried to excuse it and say there was a committee that did it. But I think that for the president to have signed on it, he needed to have reviewed that list, no matter how cursory. He needed to have looked at it and questioned 1 or 2 and said, this person, I remember this person in the news 20 years ago. Didn't she kill her husband? What's her name doing on this list? And
I think the government can use this show that we listen. We're a government that listens, whichever way they try to couch this statement and say, okay, there needs to be another.
That's what I would have liked to hear, was the Attorney General to say yesterday that we're a listening government.
There was a part in that also said we acknowledge,
Yes, he did.
There was a part in that, but that wasn't the reason given.
No, that was an aside, But truth be told, this government has actually reversed some things based on public outcry.
And I think it's something they should actually build on.
They should promote that, yes.
But Mr. Akintobi, we have to listen to the director in the MPR. Because we're a listening
team, right?
Because we can go on and on with this. It's always a pleasure having you on the program, Mr. Dayo Akintobi, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for your time.
Always a delight to be here. Happy weekend, Nigeria.
Amen to that. We'll take a moment now. When we return, the new INEC chairman, what kind of INEC do you want to see? Let us know. Send us your mail on the email address which will be on your screen as we have that conversation and get your thoughts on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, and so let's begin the first leg of our conversation this morning. It's a new dawn at Nigeria's election management body with the confirmation of Professor Joash Amupitan by the Senate yesterday. Of course, it was an opportunity to come up close and perhaps a bit personal with the new man that will head Nigeria's electoral body. So what will INEC look like under Professor Joash Amupitan? Perhaps we can make projections. So let's start this together. And joining us in the studio, we have Mr. Jerry Chukwueke. He is a public affairs analyst and former chief technical advisor to Governor Hope Uzodinma. He joins us right here in our Lagos studios.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Chukwueke. It's good to have you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Yes, and so I'm sure you watched the screening yesterday as Professor Amupitan, answered questions from the senators. How does it come across to you? Is he the kind of INEC chairman that you want to see henceforth?
Well, first of all, it's a great appreciation for what Mr. President did in nominating him as part of his transformation agenda. It's a transformation agenda that Nigerians now really expect of him. But here is my take. in terms of what I have looked at very carefully. Professor Joe Amupitan, Professor Joe, young people call him that, has a very no-nonsense upbringing.
Do you know him personally?
Yes, I know quite a bit. I grew up in Bedouin Plateau, so I know him quite a bit.
Personally?
Well, let me put it this way. I know him quite a bit.
Interesting.
And I say this because when you have a no-nonsense upbringing by school teachers, that's who his parents are, they hold no prisoners. You do what needs to be done. That's the foundation of integrity and character. And God-fearingness. And courage. So look at all the academic qualifications. I'm not going to focus on that too much. I'm talking about character and how that leads to integrity, because that's a big issue, big deal for where we're going. So let's dimension a little bit, and then we can take it from there. One, I think one of the critical aspects of what's transpired here is the fact that Mr. President chose a man who is an authority in, and I pay close attention to this for the things that will come out of it, in the law of evidence. In addition to that, an expert, a specialist in corporate governance and due process. Now, when you look at the issue of being an authority in the law of evidence, you will appreciate the fact that one of the huge challenges of INEC is being that a lot of materials that came out of INEC, positions papers that went to the courts, failed to stand legal scrutiny. That was part of the challenge we faced. Now, we now have an opportunity for a man who understands that what comes out of INEC must stand legal scrutiny in court, leading the team. In addition to the fact that when you are a specialist in due process and corporate governance, bearing in mind that you have 12 INEC commissioners, national commissioners, 2 from each geopolitical zone, it means that you have a team of strong managers that you must empower and lead by example, and hold them to account, and ensure that the decisions made by the commission follow due process, particularly in the areas of contract awards. Who are the vendors? Who are the suppliers? How did you get there? Is the material quality? Is the technology quality? Are these reputable contractors and subcontractors? Were they there on merit or influenced by political pressure? Very important to delivering quality election results. In addition to that, when you expand it further with resident commissioners who now join in that management team, are you leading by example? And are you someone who can stand political pressure? The name of the game is integrity. So that's why I keep going back to his upbringing. You get it from when you were raised. That's how you judge. Who raised you? What sort of character was inculcated in you? That's the key. If you get it right going in, it helps.
You've spoken very highly of him. And,
yes.
You know, a lot of Nigerians listening right now, as much as they want to give him the benefit of a doubt, I mean, give him a chance. He's not even spent one day in office yet, so let's wait to see. And that's how even other political parties are approaching this. You know what, let's wait to see. This is what we expect. But we're not going to judge you just yet, because you've not gotten to work, even the civil society. But Nigerians will tell you, we've heard this before. During the previous election, for example, there were promises made, and the interpretation a lot of people got was, okay, this is how that election will be conducted. This is what will be expected. I mean, we were also part of this, because we had conversations with the electoral officers. But the election happened, and you know the talk about IREV, eventually went to court, and the court made a pronouncement. But the point I'm trying to make is, Nigerians have been here before. But I want to latch onto a point you made about him having to work with national commissioners.
Correct.
So the thinking also is, he is just one of many people who are responsible for election management in Nigeria. So we may just be paying too much attention to him.
Correct.
the expense of others who probably have more power?
Probably have on-the-ground responsibilities. So here's the point, and you raise an important point that piggybacks on what I was saying earlier. I think the point here is, if you are someone who is a specialist in due process and good governance, you are in a position to appreciate the collective management strategy. That is important in delivering results. You empower your colleagues. You set milestones and deliverables. You monitor them, and you lead by example, and you allow oxygen and ventilation so their views are carried along. So it is not commission capture. It's a critical point, because sometimes leaders go in there and they just capture the entire environment and become the mini-god of that structure. That's not who Professor Joe is. I believe he will allow his colleagues to play an important role and ensure that the foot soldiers do the needful. But here's the point. I go back to the issue of leading by example, and that's part of the strong character I believe he'll bring to the party. The issue of ensuring that election officers and ad hoc staff are trained properly.
Now that is the issue.
That is key. The man is an
and
administrator.
then bringing to bear that
Yes.
strength of character that you talked about,
Yes.
and firmness
Yes.
in disciplining
Correct.
erring resident electoral commissioners or national commissioners.
Yes.
I guess that's the heart of Kade's question. Are you seeing that
Absolutely.
that is a trait that we'll see him display when the test comes?
It's an important opportunity, and I'm confident he will do it, because that's part of who he is. I make that point because what Nigerians expect is that he goes in there and he dislodges whatever those structural challenges with regards to vested interests that may hamper where we're going. I don't believe Professor Joe will stand for it. He'll be nice about it, but he'll be firm. There's no problem with being firm so long as you're fair. So I think he'll be fair, but firm. And I think he understands from what his parents taught him, bring back our name. And he must also bring back the name of Mr. President, who took the first step and that big, bold risk to nominate him. He has to bring back their names and the names of Nigeria. Very important. I think he'll do it.
Let's talk about another area where Nigerians may be in huge doubt about whether he'll be firm or not. And he's been appointed under the current law, which allows Mr. President to appoint the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. But, there is an element in the Electoral Reform Amendment Bill currently before the National Assembly that says, look, we don't want Mr. President to appoint the INEC chairman anymore. Let it be under an independent body. We don't know. Nigerians may be saying right now, we don't know what went on between Professor Josh and Mr. President. He's denied that he was on the presidential legal team during the 2023 elections. But are you confident or sitting, uncomfortably as far as that is concerned, where his relations will be with the federal government when the test comes during elections?
So here we go. It may not surprise you that one of his best friends and client is Senator Dino Malai. Does that sound to you like somebody who will be beholden to the senator or Mr. President? If it were a politically driven appointment, he wouldn't be the nominee of Mr. President, being so closely associated with Senator Dino Malai. Number two, even the obedient movement supported his nomination and happy about the confirmation. He's open-minded. Now I go back to character, the courage to withstand political pressure. When you are a man or woman who has a good sense of self-contentment, and that's what I always like about the Jos environment. People talk about why was he also so much at Jos. Well, you know what? I think people who understand when to say when, right? And driven by principle. I've heard some of his close friends and some people he didn't even know as well, who on principle, he took on their legal matters pro bono and drove them all the way to success. So the man is open-minded. I think he'll do good for Nigeria. And I make this point as well. When I talk the obedient support for him and the way young people like him, Nigerian young people are technology savvy. They want him to focus on a transformation agenda that deploys the best technology so as to reduce the influences and the interruptions or the interest of human hands. That's one part. And we're going to talk about what this might mean for security challenged areas, because that's another story. But I can say this. If you vet the contractors well, if you ensure that the best technology is what you're going to deploy,
right,
and they are not political appointees, and you also deploy specialists, special assistants who are experts in the respective fields to support him, I think we'll get to where we need to go.
I think you're doing a fantastic job. I don't know if you'll be considered as maybe one of his spokespersons, but first, I think you may be stretching it too far, saying
yes,
young people support him. Yes, we may have seen a few people make comments,
yes,
but saying generality, even the obedience, a lot of them will tell you that, how did you, is there a poll that you carried out that says, we the obedient support him? Even for Mr. Peter Obi, the call from him was, this is what should be done. It wasn't a call of, it wasn't a statement of, oh, okay, we're now one and the same. But before you speak to this,
yes,
I want to show you a video from 2019, because you also mentioned the relationship he's had with politicians, particularly Senator Dino Melaye.
Yes.
So this is a video from 2019 where he was praising Senator Dino Melaye at an event. So this is the current INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amupitan, in 2019. Take a listen to what he was saying about Mr. Dino Melaye. So that was him speaking very highly about Senator Dino Melaye.
Yes.
And one of the concerns people have raised is, one, being a lawyer, two, being someone who is close to politicians. Now, that's a picture of him with Senator Dino Melaye right there. And someone, I think you've referenced that. So isn't that a danger to the electoral process? Because first, he's close to them. He's a lawyer, and in fact, Mr. Akintobi, I don't know if you caught some of the things he was saying, that it's dangerous having a lawyer at the head.
So how do you operate in Nigeria? Here's a son, a respected one for that matter, an expert in the law of evidence, right? Not having clients who become, in one way or the other, closely associated with him. So, and I make this point. Senator Dino Melaye is one of the strongest members of the opposition to this current administration. It's well documented. So if the issue were that Mr. President was concerned about some political relationship, he wouldn't go to a man.
But Mr. President didn't appoint him. Sorry, Mr. Dino Melaye didn't appoint him. It's Mr. President that appointed him.
That's the point I'm making. He would not, if that
so
was...
Mr. President is his boss, by extension.
No. But I'm saying even in the nomination, if the challenge was, I mean, his relationship with Senator Dino Melaye would have posed a challenge to his nomination by Mr. President, because Dino Melaye is a strong member of the opposition. So I was making that point with regards to his open-mindedness and Mr. President's vision about the transformation agenda. That's the point I'm making. But more specifically, even on the issue you raised with the obedience, if you follow the tracks, and all I know is watch and see and analyze, obedience actually don't follow parties, they follow individuals. It's about where they perceive a performer is in place to deliver transformation. That's what they think. But very importantly, the young people, many of them that I'm referring to, are, in fact, technology savvy. That's where their interest lies. You know the confusion about beavers delivering the results real time, boom, boom, on the ground, and collated and announced. So there is no story. And that's why I keep going back to the logistics nightmare that must be carefully now managed. And this is why those specialists he needs to put together, who will assist him and work with him, and these commissioners have to be empowered. The job is enormous. But when you have a man who can lead by example and who can withstand political pressure and who says whatever is coming out of INEC will stand the test of time in the law courts, and he's prepared by character to bring back his parents' names, I think we'll have a good chance. And I say this, one of the differences in my view between him and many other INEC chairmen who were professors, we've seen many of them, I go back, is this issue of being an authority in the law of evidence and understanding corporate governance and due process. Let's give the whole commission a chance to operate so he becomes the leader of a team. First amongst equals. Nigerians want efficiency in the game. And I make this point as well. I think that the people who will now train these election officers and ad hoc staff need lead time. The contractors and deploying expert technology requires lead time. So this government and the National Assembly has got a job to do. Give them the tools they need to do this work and do so on time. Get the budget, get the funding, get it to them on time so they have sufficient leadway to get on with this enormous task.
Yeah, and to that, perhaps civil society would say under the last administration at INEC, the federal government is still owing them some money from the last election cycle, and that is at the heart of the performance of INEC.
Absolutely.
But still, on the matter of the strength of character of the new man at INEC, he said, look, losers will congratulate winners under his watch during elections. He's also talked about how he would audit beavers, and if you listen to our last guest, Mr. Kitabi was saying that's courageous and it will open a can of worms.
Yes.
Considering the fact that the last election produced Mr. President as winner, are you seeing Professor Josh going all the way through with this, if it's going to, expose a lot of things?
Well, he is well equipped to do that. And that is why I think that we all must rally. The National Assembly and the presidency, give them the lead time, give them the funding they need, certainly efficiently. But having said that, they need lead time to get on with the work at hand. We already have the Anambra elections coming up. We have 2 other sub-national elections coming up in terms of gubernatorial. So the work is enormous. He needs to get out there and get on with it. Right. But he's well equipped to do it. That's really the point I'm making. And if he gets the support he needs, I think he has the strength of character to take on the political pressure that will come and to actually get a management strategy out there that leading by example that can deliver the results Nigerians are looking for.
So Nigerians are sending in their comments about what they expect from the INEC chairman. I'll take this one from Omolabake, saying, what I expect from the new chairman is a restoration of public confidence and credibility. One of the biggest tasks is to rebuild trust in elections. People want assurance that votes will count, results will be fair, and INEC will not be manipulated. That's from Omolabake. This one from Abbas Gata says, what I desire is total independence of INEC without any form of interference from the political class, that the federal government give the necessary support to the new INEC chairman to actualize the new restructuring plan. There's more comments. This one is from Dr. Joseph Ekong, saying an INEC with experienced upstream and downstream staff to deliver fairer, more transparent and credible elections. Now, that's very interesting. Upstream and downstream staff. I love that. It's amazing
you know what
you hear from Nigeria.
In that regard.
Let me take one more. One more from Ifeanyi Ability. This one says, to me, the new INEC boss is a good choice, considering the region he comes from. However, I would have preferred a better way of appointing an INEC chairman than the president doing that. And, okay, I promised I was going to be the last, but one more from Bala. Bala is writing from Jos, Plateau State, saying, what I expect from the new INEC chairman, improved electoral processes, enhanced credibility, reforms, and innovation. But we're also building this on the assumption that there may just be a new amendment. The amendment will sail through. So for you, do you think we need the amendment for him to work better, or he can still work with the current law we have?
So
as we wind down.
I think this is where the National Assembly can really help us out here. My view is that rather than technology, BVAS being back up, BVAS should be the lead, and the manual counting should back up the BVAS or the technology standard, the IREF. Yeah. If that becomes the case, then you're basically saying we will largely rely on the technology, but where it is failing because of, for example, power supply not being able to be activated or some technology failure, then it is backed up by the manual counting and reporting. That's one. And number two, and I think also this is part of what Nigerians are really concerned about, to say, okay, the current law is that INEC's position is the law. That's where we are. And part of what the National Assembly needs to do, in my view, is to say, should INEC's position remain the law? So if they're wrong about a position and they remain the law, I'm not so sure about that. Because Nigerians are looking for transformation.
Well, it's the courts that actually said, this is what it is for. So they have the courts backing.
Yeah, but guess what? But the National Assembly can change that.
Oh, I see.
That's the point I'm making. They make the law.
On the part of the election transmission of results.
Yes.
Electronic, rather.
Yes. So I'm saying we all need to come together.
All right.
We need, and that's the expectation of Nigeria.
And we hope that the fact that he's being a lawyer and, proficient in the Evidence Act, he would probably lead the charge, in the advocacy for electoral reform.
I think that is the point.
Yeah, in all public engagements.
I think that's the point.
Thank you very much. And Anchor, at this point, we've been talking with Mr. Jerry Chukwueke, a public affairs analyst and former chief technical advisor to Governor Hope Uzodimma. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
And from this point, we'll switch gears. When we return, we'll talk about water transportation in Lagos. It's an exciting conversation. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Well, let's take you there this morning. And I'm borrowing this from the Exco, which is about to be launched today. There's a lot of excitement in Lagos for Lagosians and people who will be coming to Lagos to do business, work, leisure, and all of that, because of a project that is about to be launched. It's been a long time coming, basically harnessing what has been there all this while. It was just there for the taking. So it's great to see that finally we're doing something big with the OMI, which is water in Lagos, and that is with Exco. We're joined on the program this morning by a powerful delegation. We have joining us the head of the European Union delegation to Nigeria and to ECOWAS, Ambassador Hortier Minio. It's good to have you yet again.
Always very good for me to come. Thank you so much for the invitation.
It's good to have you. And for the very first time, we have the Director, Africa Department at the AFD, Sandra Kassab. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
First off, Omieko, how excited are you about this project? I've gone through comments online. First, we had the E1 Lagos GP. I don't know if you caught that. The electronic sports that held in Lagos some weeks ago. Very first time in Africa. And it was beautiful to see. So a lot of people were jealous and said, come on, let's have this in our state. But now we're going to have Omieko. Mm-hmm. So let's break this down. First, what is Omieko really all about?
Well, Omieko is about building a network of a waterway transport system on the Lagos Lagoon with 15 ferry routes and 25 terminals and jetties, electric powered, so sustainable, and helping facilitate the movements for Lagosians. Avoiding the traffic jams, beating the traffic through the lagoon with fully modern equipment, vessels, terminals, also an operating system, of course, state of the art, and using new technologies. But also it goes beyond this. It's also an instrument for urban transformation, really. It's not only about public transportation.
Fantastic. And I'll come to you and just get a sense of what has come together to make this happen. As I said, there are a lot of other states that are looking at Lagos and they're saying, come on, we also could use this kind of initiative. But we know that Lagos is the economic hub of Nigeria. We know that traffic jams are a major headache. If you want to travel in Lagos, you have to add 2 hours sometimes to your travel. But what came together to make all of this a success? I imagine it wasn't just one person or one body that is making this a success.
No, you're perfectly right. I think this project is really illustrating all the meaning of a long-term partnership. As a French development agency, we have started to work together with Nigeria in 2008. And since already almost 12 years, we have built a really strong partnership with the state of Lagos to support the transport master plan. It has enabled us to be part of the strengthening of the transportation system in Lagos. I had the great opportunity yesterday to visit with the Commissioner and MD of Lamata, the terminals of Marina and Mile 2. We had the opportunity to be part of the bus rapid transport BRT program and already to be part of this interconnectivity, intermodality and transformation of the transport system. So now, together with the European Union and other European partners at the European Investment Bank, we are really, really glad and proud to have this opportunity to continue with this waterway system shuttle, which will continue to build a strong, affordable, secure and clean transport system in Lagos.
Exciting. And I say this for good reason, because some would say there are many challenges as far as water transportation is concerned in Nigeria. But where Lagos is, it's a bit advanced, when you look at the landscape and the management of the waterways in Lagos and the transport system. It's not as mature, but, it's something that can be worked with. Now, help us understand the buy-in of the Lagos state government in this Omieko project.
So we had the opportunity yesterday to meet together with Lamata, the state of Lagos. We'll have the launching of Omieko with LASWA today. This type of project needs a lot of ownership. A good strategy and a planning of the national stakeholders and all which are our partners. So it has been a long-term planning strategy to design such a program. What is also really interesting is to see the strong ambition of Lagos and Nigeria to really accompany this energy transition through the transport system. Transport is one of the most emissive sector, so it is so important both for affordability, for more comfort for the people. It is really time consuming and money out of pocket to pay its transportation on a daily basis. And this integrated massive public transport system to be developed, and through now this INEC program is also part of the whole combination of also strong ownership. It's a vision about how design of the project, planning and running operation then of the facilities.
Fantastic. So speak to us about the cost. We'll talk about how this transforms transportation, 25 million passengers per year, 15 ferry routes and all of that. But just how, I don't want to say expensive, but how much was put together by who to make this happen? Because I think when we begin to understand the quantum of resources that went into this, then we can also extrapolate and say this is what it will mean to the GDP, this will add value to businesses and all of that. So who pulled funds together for this?
So the total of the project more or less is 750 billion nairas. And we are bringing as a Team Europe some 540 billion in loans, in subsidized loans from the Agence Française de Développement, the AFD, and the European Investment Bank, and some 110 billion nairas in grants from the European Union. So blending loans and grants, making this a very good offer and very good support for the Lagos state government, which is our main partner. Of course, it's authorized, the loans by the federal government, but we have a very strong leadership from the Lagos state government, in particular His Excellency the Governor is very much committed in this project, and I think he will say this today.
Fantastic, of course. And there's been a lot of narrative about it already, lots of invitation put out there online. As I told you, there's a lot of excitement in the air. So how would this transform water travel in Lagos? I mentioned some of the numbers, some of the projections you're looking at. Just how bright does the future look with INEC?
Well, it looks like a future where this waterways transport network will meet all the needs of Lagosians of all categories. It will be much faster, much more comfortable to travel by sea, of course, for some of the movements in the metropole than with a car, you know. And also there will be specific features, for instance, for women, you know, to avoid sexual harassment, with the lightening of the terminals, or special seats for pregnant women, for instance. Also the employment, there will be a specific effort to employ women and have, let's say, gender equality in employment of staff to operate the system. So it will be much faster, much more comfortable, and again, it will be very beneficial also for communities, you know, which today are somehow isolated, and they will be much more integrated into the city somehow. So this is really about what we try to do in the framework of our global gateway investment strategy, trying to support in a sizable manner sustainable projects, inclusive projects, respecting the leadership and sovereignty of the partner country, and trying in particular to control the level of indebtedness. This is why there is a huge proportion of grants in the project, and also loans with very reasonable rates, because all banks get resources at very low cost, so they can lend themselves also with very low interest rates.
Interesting, and that's assuring the feminine women component of it. But speaking of the future, help us understand, maybe I should bring this to you now, the value addition and backward integration potential for this project? At takeoff, what does it look like? Or if it's not there at takeoff, sustainably in the future, what would it look like in terms of manufacture of the boats and maintenance of the boats? What does it look like?
Oh, well, thank you. Maybe I will not focus that much on the infrastructure, because when we talk about projects, we often talk much about infrastructure, and I'm sure that will be this afternoon some plans and videos of how it will look like. I just brought my metro card, the train card that I took yesterday to go to Mile 2, and I asked to the commissioner whether it will work tomorrow also for the vessels. It will. So what is really interesting, I think, it's to propose and to give access to the people and to much more people than today to a real service, a quality service, to bring them from... yesterday we had the opportunity to discuss with some kids going to school, to college, and also professional going to work every day. So it is a good opportunity, and it will change, I think, their life, because this is what the rail has already brought to their daily life, to have the opportunity to go from your home to your facilities, to your school, or to your job, with one service, quality one, reliable one, secured and clean. So I think the infrastructure will be fancy, and I'm sure it will be, and it will provide also commercial opportunities for shops and also services to people to take its coffee or food before going to work, but it will also give a lot of a simple service, reliable, secure one, and clean one.
Absolutely, and if I may add, it will be, of course, very safe in terms of water transportation, and this is also a very important point, and also climate resilient. I think this is interesting that we are planning for the worst case scenario in sea rise by the end of the century, 80 centimeters of sea rise, which would be huge. The system will be designed to still function and not be overflooded by the sea if this worst case scenario happens because of climate change.
I want to touch on the e-mobility bit of it, because I see here that the e-ferries will cut greenhouse gas emission, charging stations, pontoons will be powered by a battery energy storage system supplied by solar panels. Well, the grid and a CNG backup generator will support the system. So what is the timeline you're looking at? How soon can people begin to use this, maximize this in that sense? Because it's one thing to announce the launch, it's another thing for it to come to fruition fully. Some projects are in tranches. So you say, oh, within this period, we'll do 30%, within this period, we'll get to 90%, and then we'll be fully operational by this period. So to help people manage their expectations, what is the timeline?
Absolutely. The timeline will take years. It will depend on the work of the authorities in charge of the implementation. I know that Mr. Governor wants things to be swift, and he's right, but at the same time, we want to reach top quality. And you don't reach top quality just in a few months. You know, if you do this, you do scrap, and then in some years you see the infrastructure coming down. So we want really something lasting for decades, many decades, and so things will be done progressively. You know, it will not be 15 routes immediately. It will just be one and then a second, etc., etc. And so it's difficult to give a precise timeline. But we hope that in the next few years there will be already the first line open, and then the network will grow. Also with the transition, because there is already a waterway transport system in place. So there is also a transition plan also to help the current operators to phase out their current activities. And upgrade the system with these new terminals and vessels. And of course, there will be tenders, open tenders for contractors we're not imposing all companies, but of course our EU companies are also very keen on offering their know-how, but there will be a competitive tender operated by Lagos State authorities.
And another part that is just as important, and I want you to address Nigerians now, particularly Lagosians who would can afford water transport, but would rather go, by road because of phobia for water. What is the campaign looking like to encourage, more Lagosians to take up the choice of water transportation? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, when you brought out your calorie card, I was hoping you would speak to pricing. Currently, prior to the launch, water transport was rather expensive, beyond the reach of people. So what is the percentage reduction for those who should be taking up Omi-Eco?
Thank you for this question, because this is really touching the needs and the expectation of the people. So the whole idea also of working together with Lagos State is to have these studies to be conducted to really plan as much we get a more integrated and more people using the transport system, more we can work on the pricing and also have some kind of perequation. I'm not sure it is the right English word, I'm sorry. I'm still coming from Paris.
It's okay.
But to have a better price for vulnerable households and to have a capacity of an equity in the trenches of the price for transportation. And just coming back to attractivity and to the idea also of having an important communication around the project. We also do this information and communication in France and in Europe, also to attract top quality and champion companies to be interested to invest and to work in Nigeria. Because such innovation and this type of program also are really exciting for European and French companies. So we're really expecting them to come and to apply also to the commissioning and to ensure that the service will be at the level of expectation. And I think security, safety is really part of the program. So I'm sure and I'm confident that there will be a lot of information, sensitization regarding this safety, and all the diligences and all the equipments will be put in place to ensure that people will be more confident in taking waterway and boats for their transport.
There you go. To manage expectations further, you can't go and access the Omi-Eco tomorrow or today just yet, so please take it easy. It's a process. It's being built up, and I understand that it will run from 2024 to 2030, implemented by the Lagos State Waterways Authority. This sort of sinks into Lagos State Development Plan 2022 to 2052, so it's sort of like a brilliant marriage. But I want to speak to other things that are in the offing, because your presence here is not just about the waterways project. There's also the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, where Nigeria just became a shareholder, I believe. There's also plans about fiber as well, that's internet. So maybe we can speak to that as we wind down. So it's not just water, there are other projects around infrastructure and connectivity as well. What does that look like as we wind down?
Well, this is all part of our global gateway strategy, which is the European offer to the world to help perform what we call the triple transition: green, digital, and inclusive, that we are trying to perform in Europe, and we want to help others to do, and also improve connectivity. Not only in Nigeria, but also in West Africa. For instance, this Omi-Eco project is part of a broader Lagos-Abidjan corridor that we are trying to strengthen. And these other projects are also part of that. The EBRD is a new ace in our game, a new actor in our Team Europe. We have the European Investment Bank funding in particular Omi-Eco, and the EBRD is another bank. It's not a purely EU bank, but the EU and its member states have a majority of shares. And it's part of Team Europe. And they are coming here in Lagos. They will open premises very soon, and they are hiring their staff now, local staff predominantly actually. And their offer will be very much complementary to the one of the EIB, because they work more towards the private sector, more also in local currency, with smaller amounts of loans than EIB on average. And so we are very glad to have them. And indeed, they are already building their pipelines of loans. And one is on this very important project of optic fiber that you're mentioning, the bridge project, which is a federal government's project to roll out 90,000 kilometers of optic fiber in Nigeria and improve immensely connectivity all around the country and even beyond, and reinforce Nigeria's position and Lagos' position in particular as a hub, digital hub for Africa. And EBRD will be part of, it's a massive project of $2 billion, and they will come with loans, and the EU will also come with the grants, a little bit like OMIECO. We blend loans and grants. Exactly.
We have to anchor at this point. It's been an interesting conversation. I know you have a long day ahead to explore Lagos, so we wish you all of the very best. But we always ask to be very candid now and upfront. What's in it for you? All of this, grants and loans. What's really in it for you as the European Union? Because I imagine this is obviously not charity.
No, it's in our own interest also, because as I'll always stress, our interest is for Nigeria and West Africa to be stable, prosperous, democratic, because you are our neighbors. And if things go wrong here, it will go wrong in Europe. If things go well here, it will go well in Europe. So our destinies are intertwined. So it's not charity, it's also about business, because we want, through a global gateway strategy, to leverage private investment and private sector intervention. In this optic fiber project, for instance, the majority of investment should come from the private sector. So there are also European investors from the private sector looking at this. And then, of course, there are big business opportunities for EU companies in the OMIECO project or in the bridge project on optic fiber. Of course, it will be competitive. We have to, have the best offer. But we hope very much that our companies will also partner also with Nigerian companies in these projects.
Ambassador, always a pleasure speaking with you, and it's great to have you as well on the show. So thank you for the great work. We wish you all the very best today. Sandra Kassab, Director, Africa Development at the Agence Française de Développement.
Parfait.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Ambassador Hortie Minyo, the head of the EU delegation, Nigeria and ECOWAS. Thank you for your time.
Thanks to you both.
Wish you the very best.
Thank
you so much.
So there you have it. The interesting days, months, and years ahead. And for the average business person, I'm sure you're thinking about how to plug into all of these opportunities. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll talk about Nigeria's beautiful movie industry. There's a particular body of work coming up that you don't want to miss. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, the brand new governor of your darling Ado State, His Excellency, Governor Bode Santos!
Good citizens of Ado State, with my sweat and with my blood.
And in this meeting that is coming up, especially with how dramatic the last one was, I just don't want this next one to end up inconclusive.
We have agreed that you make me the governor, and since you cannot achieve that, no, let me have my property.
But I want to carry the people along. Make them part of the process, because they're part of the process, aren't they?
Yourself, myself, we will smile, we make money.
I've been doing for 38 years now. People like us, we can spell between 10 miles here.
Exciting, right? Welcome back. So it's Friday. Let's relax and take it easy by looking at the very vibrant movie industry. We're going to be talking about that movie you just saw the trailer for, and I know a lot of things are coming to your mind right now, but we'll help you unpack your questions and the excitement. Joining us on the program, we have movie producer for the Exco that you just saw, Seun Oloketui, is right here in our Lagos studio. And of course, we also have the veteran himself, Patrick Doyle, actor and broadcaster. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the program. It's good to have you.
My pleasure.
Indeed. I'm going to start with you. Now, when I see Governor Bode Santos and Adun State, I won't lie, the first state that comes to my mind is Lagos. I don't know if Lagos was, somewhere on your mind.
No.
That inspired the movie.
No. It was just we just created a name for a state to be able to tell our story. It's just talking about what happens behind the curtain, the challenges. We all sit down every day and blame the president and blame the governor, but we're trying to look at the challenges they also face. Some people go into government with real good intentions, and they get drowned in.
But in a movie space where love stories are thriving and they're making the numbers on the streaming platforms, you have chosen politics as a theme. Why?
Well, I tell people that this is how I intend to protest how our country is in terms of leadership and the rest. I can't go on the street to protest like other people. I can't go on social media and start attacking people. So this is the power that I have to be able to tell our own story and say, okay, this is how we are. But this is not, the problem is not only with the leadership. The problem is all of us, the leadership, we, the politicians, and even we, the followers, who people who collect money from politicians to support them, people who collect money on election to vote for them, and then you expect them to go in and do miracles. So this is my own response to it, and I feel that as our Nollywood should not just be only about talking about love and the rest. It's good that we are talking about love. We need to love each other. It's good that we that are comedy films. We need to laugh away all the stress that we face every day. But this is just a message for both our politicians and we ourselves to see, especially now that 2027 election is still, we don't even have a timetable, but it's like the election is holding tomorrow with the way everybody is running around now. So this is, we feel this is the right time to tell this story.
I'm going to come to you, Mr. Doyle. As far as the movies and scripts are concerned, you've probably seen it all over the years. How much of this theme that he's talked about resonated with you when you saw the script?
This particular movie, The Exco, it holds a mirror in front of all Nigerians and all cadre of Nigerians, from the followership to the leadership, because the reflection that you see, if it does not give you cause for concern, then maybe you're a sociopath. Because the truth of the matter is that the synopsis of the story speaks about the reality that many of us know to be the truth of our political life in Nigeria. So, and it's about time that we begin to tell these stories, because if you recall, there's no generation that does not have a way of chronicling the times. And we are very fortunate in this generation and this time that we have this type of technology where we can actually give almost, how do I describe it, lifelike reflection of these times. And so nobody has an excuse now to say, I didn't know this was going on. This movie is going to reveal the behind the scenes of politics. And because I have had the special privilege of having friends in very, very high political office, and I've had as a media person, I've had a peek behind the curtains of political chicanery and intrigue. This story, The Exco, is reflective of what I see as a media person looking at the behind the curtains of politics. So it's true to life.
And I like the idea of meeting Nigerians where they are, which is using entertainment. By the way, that's what we consume the most in Nigeria. And other times you see maybe they consume more of tech content, but here it's comedy. That's what we consume the most, entertainment and comedy. So infusing politics, governance into that makes sense, absolutely. And this is an encouragement to other filmmakers to sort of employ that. But I want to ask a thorny question before I get back to the movie. Is this a natural seller? Putting politics, because as you said, people love. They want a love movie. They want something very chaotic, comedic, and all of that. But just how sellable has this been for you?
Okay, I'll tell you what we did. Initially, when we had the idea, I brought a group of writers. When they wrote the first script, I sent it to somebody who I respected to look at the script for me, who in the industry, she's a respectable script writer. When she read it, she told me that the script is good, but it will be difficult to sell because it was too hard. You understand? So what we did was that we now brought in they introduced some characters in the thing who were telling the story, but making people to laugh. You understand? So they were reflecting what you see every day, and those people are relatable to you. When you are watching I'm sure that when you watch, if you get to watch the movie, and you see...
Let's jump in here. He says they introduced some characters that were more or less comedic. Nigeria's politics today has many comedic figures.
A lot.
People who, for want of a better word, you would like to call them slapstick comedians that are involved in Nigerian politics of today. So it's not...
Why do I have an image in my head?
I have images in my head. They could do a proper show, like a real show. Yes. People will pay for it. And it's very interesting you came in now, because I was going to come to you to ask, what did it take to get you on this project?
Shehu and I go back many decades. And beyond that, when I saw the script, and I saw the character that was allotted to me. If you had noticed in the trailer, you must have seen that character was, you looked at from the gesticulation, that character was a bit comedic. And
I could see the cut too.
Because that was deliberately put on. And that was my way of... Thankfully, the director did not overrule my interpretation of that character. But I think I went overboard just to show the absurdity of the typical Nigerian unscrupulous politician, because there are scrupulous politicians in there. But we have a preponderance of very unscrupulous political actors alive and doing well in Nigerian politics of today.
Oh, that's a very... the way you brought it together is very interesting. Unscrupulous who are alive and doing well in their unscrupulous nature. Bukala, over to you.
Well, that leads me very much to my next question. We have a lot of movies, fantastic movies that evoke thought, and, you know, their didactic quality is not lost on us as a nation.
They're what?
The moral lessons, they're not lost on us as a nation. But the question is, the objective is supposed to be change, but the changes are few and far between. Does that worry you as someone who is trying to mirror society? Are you optimistic that this will, you know, cause any significant change, you know, for you as the executive producer and the brain behind this body of work?
Well, what I've always told people is that the change that will happen in Nigeria is not going to be about someone. It's going to be about all of us, the way we carry on. A lot of us, I've read people comment about the tax reforms, for example, and I've been in places where people are already looking for ways to go around it and not pay tax. And we want there to be a change. So what I feel is that all of us have to be intentional in our own ways of saying, okay, we want a change. That is when there will be a change. Not about just one person. If you look at it, the whole politicians who are holding political office in Nigeria today, how many are they? Versus all of us. So it is because most of us, you will see that government will do something today, and that thing is very, very absurd, and people will be supporting it. Government itself will now realize that this thing is very absurd, and they'll come back and upturn it. And then the same people who were supporting it when it came out will turn around and say they are a listening government. So if all
so we are part of the problem.
We are part of the problem. We are even a major part of the problem. That's what I think, because all the people who are holding government offices in Nigeria today, I don't think they are up to 1,000 versus 199 million people. So if the 199 million people decides that we don't want you to do the wrong thing, things will change. If an honorable member of House of Assembly, who is my honorable House of Assembly, is not doing his job and we put him on queue, things will change. You understand? It looks so funny, but look, even at the election is, you can only rig an election when most people agree that the election should be rigged. So that's why I am not in the school of thought who will just sit down and say, the president, the governor, you know, it's a responsibility. Are you, as a citizen, doing your own responsibility? Do you pay tax? A lot of people even abuse government most. They don't even have PVC. Find out. They don't vote.
And I think that's why it's important for everyone to catch this movie. So speaking of catching the movie, where can we literally?
Every cinema in Nigeria.
From when? From today? From
today.
The launch was on the 15th.
The premiere was on the 15th. Initially, he held at the Alliance Francaise in Ikoyi. I was scared the way it would be received. It was there, and we will tell you that our guests stayed and waited till the end of the movie.
We love our movies in Nigeria. If you want to get people to stay or watch something, put it in a movie. And we must commend you for what you're doing. So
thank you
absolutely,
so much,
go watch the Exco. If you want to see the character he played there, absolutely go watch. You've already given us an insight into it without
if it reminds you of anybody you know.
Let us know, right?
Deliberate and intentional.
We have to thank you. We're going to have a proper conversation with you to talk about your career, your work, because there's a lot to learn and to hear.
From you, right?
So we'll have a rematch.
Not a problem.
Fantastic.
All right.
But we have to thank you so much, veteran actor, Sir Patrick Doyle, actor, broadcaster. Bukola, this is meant to be you, right?
You're good. You already started.
And movie producer of the Exco, Mr. Shimoloke Tui. Thank you for your time. Wish you the very best.
Thank you so much for having us.
So you can thank us later. We've given you something to do this weekend. And you have to absolutely go catch that, because we need to be more politically aware in Nigeria. But we promise to take your feedback on the program today, your expectations from the new INEC chairman. We'll start from this one, from Gimba Baba from Ajaokuta, Kogi State. It says Nigerians are interested in INEC that is transparent and avoid technical glitches. But he says cliches here, but I imagine you want to say glitches. That will sweep off the trust of the office. Whoever he is in terms of pedigree does not matter, but it should ensure that the next generation of politicians do not undermine the power of the people.
And this next one is from Onoj, I believe, who says, to me, it's still the business as usual. The president appointed him and he must dance to his tune, you meant to say. This is the reason some unperforming governors are jumping to the ruling party for electoral manipulation. Well, that's debatable. The fact that some are unperforming and perhaps for electoral manipulation, it's debatable. We can only get it right any day the appointment of INEC chairman is being done by an act of parliament or by referendum. Well, that's Onoj there. Sorry, that's Matthew Bartholomew Anelechi. Cardi, you have the next one.
Oh, yes, which we've seen. That's Onoj saying that the Prof said that he will clean up INEC. Does that mean that Mahmoud has been doing dirty jobs? Trust Nigerians to insinuate from that. But clearly, it's right there for interpretation. The next from Dan, as we begin to wind down, saying, I do not expect anything better from Professor Amupitan. The process of his selection is already flawed, for he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Process is better than result, and it's the biggest challenge that we have in Nigeria.
Oh, well, we just must give him a chance. And this last one is from A.M. Gamaliel, who says, I joined all Nigerians to congratulate the newly confirmed INEC chair, Professor Amupitan, and he lands by wishing him strength and wisdom to withstand external pressure from politicians. I guess that's why all the more important for you to see the Exco so that you can learn lessons that we all need. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for being there. Of course, we're back again next week. I am Bukola Koka.
Besides watching the Exco, also stay with us. The Sunrise Daily is next. I'm Kaido Kikuru. Have a beautiful weekend.